And we're live. Welcome back for another episode on the Coffee with Craner show. Today I'm here with two on-air personalities, Mike Kakuk and Lisa Williams. They've been working together, co-hosting for the Morning Drive, the number one morning show in Windsor-Essex for 17 years.
Oh my God. 17?
Now, so they've been in the career for a while, more than 17 years, but working together for 17. And today they're going to be sharing plenty of insights they've learned throughout their career in broadcasting. So Mike and Lisa, thanks for making the time today and being on the show.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you, Lyndon.
Yes.
I kind of feel like we should be interviewing you.
Yeah, maybe you can come on After 9, our social media show, one time, and you can return the favor, and we'll find out about what you're doing over here, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure. We'll see. So Mike and Lisa, I have to ask, where in Windsor-Essex is your favorite place to get coffee? And I know you probably wake up pretty early, so coffee must be a go-to for you.
Since lockdown, since COVID, we've been broadcasting from our homes, which is unusual. First time, really. So Mike's been at his place, I've been at mine, and every morning I get up, come down the stairs, into the kitchen, and I've got 3 coffee makers. I've got a Keurig, I've got a Nespresso, and I have a press. So it depends on the mood that day.
What was it this morning? What did you go with?
Pardon?
What did you have this morning?
Today I had the Keurig.
Oh.
I had the brand from Costco, like the breakfast blend. I love. But listen, I am a big new fan of McDonald's coffee. I like it.
It is delicious.
Yes. Mike, what about you?
I'm sorry, I got the same boring answer as Lisa. I mean, I love my Keurig, and that's where I go every morning about 3:30, and fire it up, wait for the water, wait for the red light to go off, and then finally it makes it so. But if I'm going to go outside the house for coffee, I'm just a Tim Hortons man. I have nothing exciting, Linda, to tell you about some small coffee shop, about crazy Starbucks order. I'm just a regular coffee, 1 milk, thank you, drive through.
You're both keeping it simple. And I guess what time do you wake up? What's the schedule like for you two?
It's insane. It is. And sometimes, I don't know about you, Mike, but you don't realize how insane it is until somebody asks you that question and you hear yourself say, my alarm goes off at 3 a.m. And then it's like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah,
why? Doing this? But I mean, the job makes it worth it, but that's definitely part of one of the more difficult things is getting up. Another difficult thing is actually going to bed on time, like early.
I find it's tougher to go to bed than it is to get up. Honestly, like my alarm goes off a little bit later. I have less prep than Lisa does in the morning. It's nice being a guy, hoodie, shorts. I'm good to go. And I find it's harder going to bed, especially if there's a big event on, or during the presidential debates, or I'm a big sports fan, some big games on. So going to bed is the tougher part, especially last night. Apparently neither of us slept last night.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine, especially during the summertime, you're trying to stay up a bit later, and the whole schedule gets messed up.
That's right.
Well, and it's so bright out, and quiet, try to play. Kids are playing in the neighborhood.
Well, let's talk about your careers. When did you both first really begin in broadcasting, and how did this all start for both of you?
You go ahead and start this one, Mike.
Okay, well, really the start for me when I was like 5 or 6 years old, when my dad gave me an old clock radio. This thing was ancient. I wish I still had it, actually. And that's when I started to love baseball and broadcasting. Ernie Harwell, Paul Carey were doing the Tiger games back then, back in the, I guess it would be like the mid 80s, early 80s. And I just loved the sound of the game. And for some reason, I loved the idea of being on the radio. Never wanted to be on TV, never anything else like that. But radio, I thought, was the way to go. And me and my buddy Dave, we used to do our own wrestling shows back then, pretend to interview each other. That led to in university, going for communications and working at CJAM, doing a weekly show there. And then my last year of high school, I sent a resume in and became a producer/board op at AM 800. And then that was like 94. Oh, my God. And that was before you were born. And now here we are. I think I started on your show, Cam and Lisa, at about year 2000. I was like the on the street reporter, and then we've been hosting together since 03.
Isn't that insane?
Oh man.
Yeah, I started right out of high school. I was 18, and it was the summer between, and at that time, we had grade 13. So it was the summer.
Lisa took the horse and buggy to get to work for the first time.
You talk tough in front of your friends, don't you, Mike?
I know. I got Lyndon here to protect me.
Yeah, but so it was the summer between high school and university, and I ran into an old friend of mine who happened to work at the radio station. At the time, it was 580 CKWW, and she said, they're looking for producers. I know you're going into communication studies. Why don't you, apply? I was not looking for a job. I was not looking at going into radio at all. Just sort of fell in my lap and got the job, was producing talk shows, basically, doing every single kind of job, sort of working your way up the tier, and ended up co-hosting the show with Cam Gardner, having a great deal of fun. And then when Cam became ill and retired, that's when Mike stepped in. So again, different co-hosts, but just as much fun. And it makes getting up worth it.
The funny thing is, I think at this point, we have been hosting together longer than you and Cam hosted together.
I think so.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And really, how did this connection between both of you really start?
Well, Mike he was our on the street reporter at the time. So the Cam and Lisa show was on, and Mike was a part of the morning show already. And we'd cut to him regularly and that kind of thing. And I think maybe when Cam's been on vacation, Mike would sit in. I was away on maternity leave when Cam was sick, I think, right, Mike? Something like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was like Cam and Lisa's show with Mike and Leah for like a year almost.
Yeah. And then, and it was just a natural fit, right? Mike's familiar with the format, familiar with the show, we're familiar with each other, and it evolved from there. And the show has taken on, a lot of different nuances, changes over the years. And, we're always striving to make it better and move with the times and give our audience what we think they need. Radio has what you call a clock every hour. It's a clock, and our clock, it changes. Sometimes newscasts are shorter, some are longer, and we insert different things and then take them out when we feel it needs like a fresh coat of paint.
So you must be all over the news, constantly watching it and following it, making sure you have consistent topics to discuss each morning. What is that like? Do you ever take like a break where you take a few days off to just disengage from social media?
Not really. Well, maybe social media, but not really. I mean, Twitter is like my favorite, right? I'm always on there looking for stories and see what's going on. And, Lisa will tell you too, people think we work 4 hours a day. You think, oh, you guys are so lucky. You work 5 to 9. Awesome. But there's a lot more to the job. And like Lisa said, getting up 3:30 in the morning and do a little prep before the show. But a lot of the prep is done through the day. You can't wait until you talk to each other at 4:30 in the morning and say, oh, let's try to get this person on. Good luck. So you're doing it during the day. So things will come up and you'll say, okay, we kind of have a Facebook Messenger thread between myself, Lisa, and our producer, Ed. And we'll say, what do you guys think of this idea? Okay, who can we get on tomorrow and all that? And then I think we're all on our computers around 7:00 at night after dinner saying, okay, here's all the stories I found today. Here's all the stories Lisa found. And then we kind of put them in the different sections of the show and kind of figure things out. So you're always kind of working, you might take a few hours, do something, and then you look at your phone, see what's coming in, check your email, and see who you might want to have on the show next day. So it's kind of a grind in a way. Like I think we're underpaid, to be honest, and we don't get enough kudos for what we do.
It's funny, but I know what you're getting after, Lyndon, and it's true because especially since COVID, the news is pretty darn negative, and at the same time, it's our job to present everything that's going on to our listeners. So there's no real escape for us. But I will say that come Friday, after the show, after we do our After 9 segment, I do not want to look at the news. I don't want to listen to the news. And I try and get away with it for Friday and Saturday.
Mhm.
And then I feel like all stressed out on Sunday because I have to catch up on everything I missed. But it's really difficult to take a break.
Yes, and I'd say, well, both of you doing the After 9 show, it's more of a humorous taste on what's happening in the community. Yesterday you talked about was it skinny jeans, things like that, right? Where you're trying to make sure it's not constantly about COVID, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that's the whole idea of After 9 is to have a little more fun, interact with the listeners a little more as well, and show a different side of our personality. After 9 used to be what the show was more like on air, and it's gone in a more newsy, more serious direction in the last couple of years, where we'll still mix in some lighter stuff, but all in all, it's more of a focus on the news. So After 9's kind of more designed to, I don't know, just be ourselves, let our hair down, interact with people, and it's been fun. We've been doing that for 2-3 years now, I think.
Well,
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's great, and I think that the community really likes it. It gets a nice break from what's happening in the world, right? So I have to ask, what has been your top interviews that you've conducted, whether it's an individual or a topic? What's been your favorite?
Lyndon, I knew you were going to ask this question, and I seriously have thought so much about it. And, I think I can't think of one particular one, but I can think of a type of interview that I really like. And it all has to do with local people. And we've had some really good news stories over the many years that we've been doing this show. And it's such a nice, refreshing change when we can have somebody on that's local and talk about something that happened that is good. An example of that happened recently was, do you remember this, Mike? We spoke with a pastor of a church, and there was a young couple who had just gotten married, and there was another family and their parents died. Was it 6 kids? 6 kids. Their parents died tragically, and this young couple felt the need and the want to take them under their wing. So we had the opportunity to speak with the pastor and get the whole story about how their house was being renovated, and the community was putting in money to help them out. I love stuff like that. Like, it's such a feel-good thing. Mike might have a different answer, though.
Well, the one person I really like, and I think Lisa agrees with this too, is having my grandma on. She's 104, and she's so with it, and I think it's such a thrill to talk to her on the radio. I talk to her every day anyway, but to have her on the radio and the feedback that we get, and just what she has to say, I think it's so entertaining to hear her on the radio. And like I said, I love getting the feedback from the listeners, and I think she's an inspiration to a lot of people, because she is 104 and she's so with it, and she's up to date on the news and sports and everything that's happening. She's a huge Detroit Lions fan. And I keep telling Graham, I'm like, they better hurry up, win the Super Bowl, because you might be running out of time, but keep going. I mean, she's 104. So that's my favorite interview. And, I'm a big sports fan. So whenever we have athletes, we interviewed Darren McCarty from the Red Wings a few weeks ago. I've interviewed, we've interviewed Huey Lewis too, talking about music. I love Huey Lewis, the news. Oh, yes, I know everybody make fun of me. That's okay. Love Huey. So a lot of that kind of stuff is cool too.
That's incredible. Both really, really touching stories. And Mike, are you going to be on the air until 104?
I hope so. Until they kick me out anyway. I got nothing else to do. As long as I can stay in my basement and do it, this is perfect.
Amazing. Well, I hope you do, Mike. That way, when I'm in my 50s, I can still listen to you.
Yeah, well, you'll probably be on. It'll be like crack of dawn with Craner or something, 5 to 9, AM 800. I don't know.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
So Mike and Lisa, what do you enjoy most about your job? I know you said it's late nights, early mornings. What gets you waking up in the morning and coming to this job?
A lot of it is the people we work with. Like, working with Mike is so much fun. And it's it's true of any job, I'd say. If you don't like the people you work with, you don't enjoy working with the people, like, what's the point? Like, why are you even there if you can't enjoy yourself and have fun? You know, Mike and I work together so long, it's like you depend on each other and you can rely on each other, and there's a trust there that, you're both working your best to put together a really good show, and we kind of read each other's minds in a way now. That's a big part of it. The getting up part is definitely not the best part of the job, but I think it's also great. Like, I feel at the end of the show that we've accomplished something really good. Like, we've done a great job in presenting a lot of what's going on locally, provincially, nationally, and around the world. Wouldn't you say, Mike?
Yeah, I think so. We try to do that mix with our focus being on local, but even if it's an international story or a story from the US, basically we want to talk about what people are talking about here. And of course, we're so close to the border. So if there's a story in Detroit, if there's a story with Donald Trump or Joe Biden now or whatever, we try to localize that, or just say, okay, well, a lot of people are talking about this, so we should talk about it too. And
right.
Give our thoughts on a story, or play a clip that maybe was in the news, and take feedback from our audience too. So that's that's kind of what we do. To me, a local story, to both of us, really, we've always said this: a local story just isn't something that's happening in Windsor-Essex. It's what people in Windsor-Essex are talking about.
Right.
Yes, very true. And you guys are definitely the dynamic duo. You work well together, and I think the name, the Mike and Lisa, the Morning Drive, it works well, right?
It better.
Yeah. 17 years. We're still trying to get it right, but we'll get it one of these days. But no, it's great. It is a lot of fun. And, it's Lisa and I always say to each other, like, it's like, can't imagine having a real job. It's like, because it is fun, right?
Yeah.
You get paid to do this, and this is your job. And we're
right.
very lucky to do what we do, because, has been in the news lately. I mean, I bet you, Lisa, that people even said this to you. People said this to me back in '94. Oh, we want radio. There's not a lot of jobs in radio, and even more so now. So we're very lucky to do what we do.
Definitely. And I want to jump over to the comments. There's a few different questions that came up. If you don't mind answering them live, lots of love in the comments, which I really appreciate. So the first one is: do you like broadcasting from home better than going into the studio? And that's from Paul Licha.
Hey, Paul, you know what? Yes and no. I think working from home has some great advantages. You don't really have to put in as much effort getting ready in the morning. All of your stuff's right here. It obviously saves some time. It's just more comfortable. And we've been able to work out a way where upgrading our equipment, people would not know that we weren't in studio that way. The drawback for me is, that you're not in the studio, and there's sort of a different feel, especially the interaction with our producer. So we figured out a way through chats and all that kind of stuff to get that connection, but it's not the same.
Yeah. Paul, good question. And do I like broadcasting from home better than going to the studio? Yes and yes. I know Lisa said yes and no. My answer is yes and yes. I love being at home. My dog Lulu's just over on the doggy bed. I got my own coffee, and we got my own computer, and I'm all set to go. I, take care of stuff, go see Kelly in between news breaks and stuff like that. So I do enjoy it, but there are drawbacks. It was a big challenge. And like Lisa said, I think we got the system down pretty good now. And Lisa and I will be on Messenger video chat with each other for the full 4 hours, so we can see each other too. Because there's when we lose the connection once in a while, the video feed, it's like, wow,
it's like we don't know what to say.
Yeah,
where
you go?
Well, thanks, Mike, for the question there. The next one comes from Cameron Stalbrand. He says, does it ever weigh on you to have to report emotional stories? And really, how do you deal with that?
A lot of times I cry, to be honest. It's like, it's difficult. Oh, my God. Remember the Humboldt accident? And we had to talk about all those hockey players who were killed in that bus crash.
Yeah, and it went on for a while because there was the crash, and then there was the memorials after, then the investigation, and it went on for a long time, right? It was a tough story.
I found it really difficult to Sorry, there's a cat that's going to come in the picture.
Mike the
here in a
cat is
minute.
here.
Sorry about that.
That's
Just
okay. First pet on Coffee with Craner.
Yeah, this is broadcast first.
But you know what? That's difficult, and I think it's okay to show your emotion. It's okay to be real in that sense, and we're human, and I almost always consider our listeners our family. It's like we shouldn't be afraid to show our emotions or really reveal how we feel about a certain issue or a topic. A lot of people disagree with what we say, and we get that all the time. But I think it's better that we try not to just please everybody or hide our emotions. But the sad stories are so difficult. Let's hope we don't have any more.
That's I remember Lisa telling me like day one we started hosting together. Any advice? Just be yourself. And then that's backfired a few times, but all in all, it's worked pretty well. And it is tough to talk about some of those emotional stories. Me being a huge animal lover, whenever there's an animal hurt or something like that, like I'm watching. What's the show right now? We're both watching it, Lisa.
Your Honor. Yeah.
There's a dog in the show, and they keep teasing that something's going to happen bad to the dog, and I'm like, no. Don't! I can't watch if you hurt the dog. I'm turning it off. So anything with animals or animals getting hurt or whatever, that's tough for me.
And Mike, you work with was it Golden Retrievers?
Yeah, Golden Rescue is the organization, and my significant other Kelly, she's on the board of directors, and I volunteer with the kind of the graphic teams. I do a lot of the videos and posters and stuff that they post on the different social media channels, and we've helped out with transport. So there's like a whole team of people. So somebody will drive from like Texas to Missouri, and then Missouri to Ohio. Then somebody goes from Ohio to Michigan, and then Kelly and I go to Michigan and take the dog to London or something. Then, that's how they kind of do it, so nobody has to go real far. And so we've done that before too, and it's awesome. It's a great organization. If somebody's looking to rescue a golden retriever, even a younger one, a senior, we import them, or I don't know if that's the right word, but bring them in from Istanbul and countries where they're living on the streets. They fly them in and find them forever families. You can go to goldenrescue.ca for more information or check out social media. Thank you for asking, because then I got to plug it, and now I will get bonus points.
Well, definitely a great initiative, and good for you, Mike, for doing that. We still have a couple more questions if you folks have time.
Sure.
The next one comes from Jen Desjardins Grandin. She says, "Love all three of you." Thanks, Jen. And she's asking how much prep really happens behind the scenes for each show.
Yeah, there's a lot, actually, more than you would realize. So I think we talked a little while ago about what time we get up. And we all kind of convene at about 4:30 and start, chatting with each other. We have what we call a prep sheet with different time slots and different interview slots. That preparation starts the day before the show, and we work basically all day. And it's not like you can sort of turn it off, because if you're like us, Lyndon, you're always sort of checking your phone and checking news headlines, that kind of thing. And if something comes up, and keep in mind, a lot of the people that we deal with or interviews we have to book, they work normal hours. So just because we work really early in the morning doesn't mean we get to kind of shut things off and pretend nothing else is happening. When we want to communicate with people or have meetings, that kind of thing, it's throughout the day. And as Mike mentioned, at about 6 or 7, we're back at our computers and putting together the show prep. So 2 hours at night for sure, and 6 hours, including our on-air during the day.
Yeah,
so,
and that's a great question, Jen. Jen's got a sweet profile picture or two I see on the street. Look how professional that is. I want to go to that photographer and get one of me and my hoodie going like.
So Jen owns GL Heritage.
Oh, okay.
Jen.
Yeah.
Craig
Awesome.
and I met Jen this past summer. Great story that she has about her and her husband and her extended family starting that business. That was great. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah, but look at that photo, how professional it looks. I'm just blown away by this. So, the other thing is, Lyndon, is the fact that, so much has changed with technology in the last, I'd say, even like 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 years. I mean, there's a lot more to do. and a lot less people to do it with. And social media has changed. We try to keep up to date on with our social media pages. We have a podcast as well. You can search The Morning Drive with Mike and Lisa on your favorite podcast app. It's posted on our website as well. So there's a lot of difference other than just being on the radio. There's a lot of other things you're doing to try to promote yourself. I mean, you know that better than anyone. And I was saying, I want to hire you to handle our social media because you do an awesome job promoting your show. And, and the other part of it is, not right now and not for the past year, but a lot of times we volunteer our time going to MC different events and get out in the community. Lisa, how many readathons have you been to? About 1,200,000 and how many?
Yeah, you got it. That's exactly the number I was going to say. But that's fun. And that's listen, when we're doing our show from here or we're doing it in the studio, there's nobody else. Excuse me. There's nobody else there. So you don't get the immediate feedback on radio. You don't get to see our listeners' faces, that kind of thing. So by touching base with people in the community, it's a really great way to know, oh my God, there are people listening. Wow, that's awesome.
That's great. And we have a few more. I will try my best to make sure, Mike, you can have a nap. I know you're patiently waiting a nap.
If I start drooling and my eyes close, just ignore me.
That's normal.
So the next question comes from Bucket God. It may be his real name. He might be good at basketball. But what kind of luxuries has broadcasting brought into your life?
Travel, concerts, shows. Lisa, what's a good luxury from working in this business?
You know what? I'm not sure about luxury. That's a word that I'm having a problem with. That has a lot of
perks is a better word.
Perks,
yes.
I think we get invited to a lot of things. We get invited to a lot of events and stuff, and I think that's awesome. We have an opportunity to endorse different clients in our community. We're very selective with the clients that we choose. These are clients who are part of AM 800, and I consider that a perk, and I enjoy getting to know our clients that way. For example, I have been endorsing a client like Provincial Chrysler for a long time. So I will drive different vehicles for Provincial Chrysler. And I think that's great. And I got to know the dealership quite well. And then I speak about it on the air. Mind you, they pay for that. But I think it's a great way for us to showcase some of our really great clients to our listeners. It's awesome.
Yeah, it works really well for clients. I mean, that's why we've been, I think, around so long, Lyndon, is the fact that we have such a loyal audience and we have such great advertisers. A lot of them have been with us for a long time. Like Lisa, like Provincial Chrysler, they've been on for years and years. And, Fairhall and Antonino's Pizza, which I talk about, some of these people will go back 20 years at least. That they've been on the air with us, and without people listening, without our advertisers, we ain't getting paid, and we're showing the door. So, the whole business of radio is do a good show. You hope a lot of people listen. Then you hope a lot of advertisers will spend money to get their message out to those people listening. Everybody wins.
It's a win-win situation.
Yes.
So just a couple more questions here. I apologize for going a bit over. But
any more from Bucket God? I want to know about that name. That's a great name.
Yes. Well, the next question here comes from Rick St. Dennis. He says, how do you deal with an on-air interview and when the answers sometimes are not what you expected, or maybe they're a bit ridiculous, profane? How do you deal with that?
You call in Mike the Cat there, and you just say, you take it away, Mike. Sometimes you will get an interview, and it's a complete dud. And it could be anybody. Look at Mike's tail. This is Mike the Cat. You want to explain who Mike the Cat is before I answer?
He's not even my cat, honestly. He's my neighbor's cat, and he comes over every day and scratches at our window and meows and everything. So we let him in. So I think it's sort of a neighborhood sharing program we're part of. So anyway, I apologize.
And I love that his name's Mike.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
with bad answers or ridiculous answers, I mean, one of the keys in radio is when you are particularly interviewing someone is that you want to listen. And if somebody says something ridiculous, well, you kind of have to just call them out and say, excuse me, what'd you say? But then sometimes you're going to get people that for some reason they came on the radio with you and we thought they would be good in an interview, and they're starting to give you one-word answers or awful answers, and then that's when you go Maverick and Goose, hit the eject and end it early and say, thanks for joining us. See ya.
See you later. Yeah, so there's that. There's that, of course. There's always a challenge to pull information out of people that you want. And sometimes people are just nervous. It's not every day people do interviews on the radio or in any kind of media. So I think we have to kind of try and make them feel comfortable. And if there's a certain topic we want and answer we want out of them, then, maybe just trying to make them feel a little more comfortable will bring it out. So
even with our regular guests too, we've had so many regular guests during COVID, people from Windsor Regional Hospital. We've had, Drew Dilkins, the mayor of Windsor, on 3 times a week instead of once. Dr. Wajid Ahmed's on with us 3 times a week normally. And I think one of the things that maybe is a little bit different than our show and what, that we like to do is, make our, like Lisa said, make our guests feel comfortable and maybe joke around with them a little bit, before or after the interview leading in. So there is a comfort level with us, depending on the topic that day. If it's a tragic topic, obviously that's not going to happen. But, if it's an everyday topic, if it's a lighter topic, to joke around with some of these people, I think makes them feel more comfortable. And I think what it does is shows that to the audience that somebody like Dr. Ahmed is a real person and has a personality. Drew Dilkins is just not the mayor of Windsor. He's a father. He's a guy. He lives here just like you, and he's a guy. Good one, eh? I'm getting tired of running out of terms. And he has a personality outside what you just see down at City Hall. So I think that's what we try to do, maybe a little bit different than a lot of shows.
Yes, and I think it brings out a different personality to them, right? It's like you said, it's not always so serious, and you can have those jokes and learn more about their personal life.
Yep.
So we have 2 quick questions here. We'll go over to Mark Renault. Mike, he's asking, what do you think for this season, if there is one, for the Tigers?
If there is one, yeah.
Well, there will be one. It sure sounds like it anyway. They're going to report to spring training on time, it looks like, and play almost a full season. Tigers aren't going to be good. See the World Series banner? That's from 2006 behind my shoulder. There will not be one hung in downtown Detroit this year for that. Look for them to improve next year. So not this upcoming year, 2022. You're going to see a lot of the kids start to make waves, and a lot of the guys that have been part of this rebuild, and it's trying to be patient with the Tigers, will start to pay dividends. That is my prediction, 2022. Lisa, your thoughts on the Tigers?
I think the Tigers would generate a lot more interest if they only made their games 5 innings instead of 9, and they moved a little more on the field.
Lisa's not a big fan of baseball, and that's my favorite sport. And I'm like, how do you not think this is exciting? She goes, everybody's standing around. Nobody's doing anything. Can we make it 3 innings? As soon as I'm done my nachos and hot dog, I'll go home.
Exactly.
It's a bit too slow for you, Lisa.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. What about golf? Is that even more slow for you?
I for some reason, I like golf a little better. I think I can appreciate it more. Hockey's always moving. That's good. It keeps me awake. If they're moving, I'm staying awake.
I think Lisa likes golf too because the beauty of the landscape and the azaleas blooming at Augusta.
I would love to walk that course. Not play golf or anything. Just walk that course.
Who's that lady walking? I'm trying to play here.
Lisa, I know we've been on air for a bit, and I do appreciate your time. I just want to leave with one last question for. A lot of students watch my show. A lot of young emerging leaders watch the show, and I try to give them industry advice. And I want to know, what would your advice be for those students looking to go into communications or journalism, broadcasting? What's your advice for those students?
It's tough. I'll be honest. It's a tough business to be in right now. because you don't know where radio is headed. I think radio will still be relevant in some way, 10 years from now. But I mean, there's so much competition with radio. I think if you want to try and get your foot in the door, remember that it's not just radio announcers that are the occupations. There's so much more that goes into radio. Maybe research that, and you might find a fit, because not everybody can be on the air. And I think there's, the jobs are few and far between, if we're really being honest. And I know what advice you're going to give, Mike.
Don't be an engineer, be a teacher, get a real job. Don't. Back to you. No, it's one of those things. Like I said, hey, people told me back in the early 90s, you don't want to go into radio. There's not a lot of jobs. Well, you know what? Radio is going to be around. The changing media landscape the last 10 years, where people have so many ways. Before it was what? You buy your newspaper, you watch the 6 o'clock news, you listen to AM 800 in the morning to get your information on the radio, and then you listen to some music on some FM stations. Well, think about Spotify. You think about Twitter and all these places you can get news. So we hope they get it from us. And I think that's another thing from showing personality. So my best advice, if you do want to get into media, focus on and be like a presenter or a performer or a broadcaster or whatever it is. Do it all. You do video, do social media, do radio, do podcast, do TV, because you're going to have to wear a lot more hats than just being a radio host. You're going to have to do it all, because there's just less and less people to do those jobs. And you're going to be asked to do more than just one thing. That's right. Good advice. And don't.
Well, I appreciate the honesty, and I think, like you said, it's a difficult industry to be in. It's constantly changing. Did you ever think you'd be doing live streams every day?
No, I hate it.
Right?
Yeah, when they asked us, you guys want to do a social media show? Lisa had this very sign, no, and it said no on it. I'm like, no, all the stuff that we have to do now is stuff that wasn't even invented when we were first coming up. We were reading newspapers and clipping stuff out, and there was pre-internet, so you'd have the news wire and these big yellow curly pieces of paper, almost like a fax coming in, and you read it off that
and rip them apart.
Right? Rip and read is what they used to call it, right? Wow. And now it's just so different. I mean, good and bad, I think. Us who are getting older in years and been doing this for a long time. I like the good old days. We just rip and read. We don't do all the internets and all that stuff.
Internets.
But it's exciting. All this technology. I love technology. It's very exciting. It makes our jobs easier, but busier, like everybody's job, though, right? Everybody has more to do with less people, and it's because of technology. Everybody has their smartphone on them, so now your boss can text you at 6:30 at night saying this client needs this for tomorrow morning. Couldn't do that before, right?
No.
Well, I think you both are actually absolutely great. I think we had a really, really fun time today on live. I think the folks watching seen a different side of you. We went in depth behind your career in broadcasting. Thanks for making the time after you've been up since around 3 o'clock. I think we learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I think the guests did too.
Good. I hope so.
Thanks, Lyndon. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you do a great job. Those were great questions from you and your audience. And like I said at the beginning, you do such a great job with this, and it looks so professional, and I'm very jealous how good you are at this, and that it will be one day crack of dawn with Grant.
well, Mike and Lisa, I do learn from the best, and I do learn a lot from you. So thanks for making the time, and we'll see you very soon.
Thanks for having us, Lyndon.
Yeah, thanks for the time.